Hello, webheads, and welcome to another edition of Spider-Man the Animated Series podcast. I'm your host, Alex Robson, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Marvel artist, my brother from the same mother, and all-around friendly neighborhood guy, Will Robson. Say hello, Will.
Hello!
I think I'll just keep on adding to that intro as we go along, and then it'll be like 20 minutes.
It's going to be as long as one of your little theme tunes.
So, this episode, what are we doing?
I believe that we're reviewing the second episode of Spider-Man the Animated Series.
We are indeed, The Spider Slayer. I know you just watched this today. I've watched it a couple of times over the last few days, and it is significantly better than the first episode, isn't it?
Oh my god, like when we watched the first episode I was like, is this show as good as I remember? And then I was like, it was generic, it was alright. I mean, Kurt Connors, whatever, he's the Lizard, but this episode had so many layers, like Osborn and introduction to Kingpin and Smythe and his dad. They couldn't say, like, they said his dad, Smythe's dad has disappeared, not dead. Like, the whole thing was great, and also with Flash, and oh my god, I watched it today and I was like, god damn, that was good. I just want to keep watching more.
Yeah, I agree with you. It felt like it could be its own Spider-Man film if they just extended it out to an hour and a half or 2 hours or something. I mean, I know it's only 20 minutes, but it had so much good stuff in it that I thought this is what we came to find and love with the show.
Yeah, and Kingpin, oh my god, I forgot how much I fucking love that character.
Oh yeah.
The moment he started speaking, do you have written down like what he says about crime and stuff? Because that little monologue he had to Osborn is brilliant.
You better fucking believe it.
Really? Okay, cool.
So, let's start off, before we get into that, with little stories and stuff like that. Obviously, as the listeners may or may not know at this point, you are a comic book artist, worked on such properties as Marvel, Image Comics, IDW, the list goes on. You got a big old comic book dick swinging. So, what's been going on in the world of artistry for you lately?
I've been working on my super secret image project, which hopefully I can talk about in the next couple months, but I've also been working on the 11th out of 12th cover for Big Trouble in Little China that I've been doing. And this is a gigantic piece of art. It's if you buy all 12 single issues of the comic with the covers by me, if you put them all next to each other, they connect into one gigantic image. It's been nuts to draw. It's been a fucking headache, but it's also been really cool at the same time. But getting all of the images to sync up and all that stuff is it's been a challenge, but it's been good fun.
Cool. Yeah, I really like those covers. I think it really suits with your style.
My style?
Your
yeah.
style.
I just want to say that the colours are by Jordan Boyd, same guy who coloured my Star Wars 40th anniversary cover. Good colourists.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I've never even seen Big Trouble in Little China.
Well, I don't know if you'd like it. It's a John Carpenter film, and I know you do like some John Carpenter.
I do.
Like talking about The Thing, and I know that we watched Escape from New York as kids, and the list goes on. Vampires, all that stuff. But it's a very weird film. It feels very B-movie, silly, and definitely dated.
Yeah, it's a cult film, right?
It's a big cult film.
Yeah.
It was something new for the audiences. It was one of the first showings of Kung Fu to a Western culture, and it's got Kurt Russell. How could you not like Kurt Russell? He's like one of the best actors ever.
Oh, who would you cast Kurt Russell as in a Spider-Man film?
Hobgoblin.
Oh, I like that. Oh, I immediately like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, I'll have a think if there's anybody else throughout this episode. He'd make a good Shocker as well, I think. Or is he too...
No, I really liked the new Shocker, the guy from Fargo. I thought he was good. Yeah,
he was really good. Alright, so I have a quick story for you. So it seems to be a habit now that over the weekends I wake up...
Get drunk?
I definitely do that. But I wake up at like 4 a.m. and I just have a problem sleeping. So like I said, I usually go downstairs, cuddle with the dog, and I just plough through half a season of Spider-Man. So I did that on Saturday. And then on Sunday, same thing. And I've started to look forward to it now. But the thing with Sunday is that my wife woke up as well at the same time. In fact, I woke up and
you were like, "Go back to bed. I want to watch Spider-Man."
So she was on her. It's kind of like that. So she was on her phone, and I was like, "Oh, I'm looking on my phone," and then I said, "You're awake. I'm awake. Do you mind if we watch something?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure. Put whatever on." And I was like, "Well, I've been."
You're like, You mean whatever?
Yeah, because I've been watching Spider-Man lately, and I've been doing the podcast and everything. And she's like, "Yeah, I've never seen it, but go ahead, stick it on."
Oh god, you didn't put on one episode that was like full of like awkward sexism or something like that. Because it seems like every time you put on something to show your wife from the past, like something horrible pops up where you're like, "Oh, what? That's just bad timing," you know?
Yeah, just like something really dated and just out of place in this world now. Yeah.
Like for instance, Chloe, for listeners, Chloe is the name of my fiance. She's never seen Anchorman before, so I put it on for a bit this weekend. And that whole film is about sexism in the workplace.
Yep.
And even I was like, "Oh, this isn't funny anymore. Crap."
Oh no, really?
Except for, I mean, I was cracking up because it was nostalgic. And Brick in that, what's his name? Michael Scott. I don't know, is that the actor's name?
Oh, Steve Carell.
Yeah, Steve Carell. Still cracking me up with, "I don't know what we're yelling about."
Which kind of feels like any time I have an argument with my wife, that's usually where it ends up. Oh dear. So anyway, I stick on an episode, and it's actually the Daredevil team up Spider-Man episode.
Oh, no.
And my wife and I love the Netflix Daredevil
He's
show.
Like, "I'm blind."
So, way too many Anchorman references. So anyway, we both love the Netflix Daredevil show. So I was like, "Oh, Daredevil's in this episode, and that's the Kingpin." So we were watching, and she was watching along, and she enjoyed it, and it was a good time. But during the intro, obviously the Spider-Man theme kicks in.
Spy.
No, I didn't do the spy this time. But at the end, obviously, you see Venom and his tongue's all wiggling around. So I was just like, "Oh, look at Venom and his tongue. Looks so cool. It's so big and it's like lashing out." And she's like, "Yeah, take notes." And I was like, "Oh, shit. I just got burned because of his tongue flicking around."
Ew, that's gross.
Take notes.
Is that a story that you really want to share?
Yeah, I even said it. I was like, "I'm going to talk about it in the podcast." She's like, "Go for it." I was like, "Alrighty."
Okay, well. Great story, guy. Nothing like starting off with your significant other judging your sex life.
Yep, moving on. So, I had a terrible morning as well. This morning I went for a run and I lost my keys on the run, and I spent all morning with a torch looking around, or a flashlight looking around for them. And guess what? On the way home this evening, thought they were gone for good, and as I'm walking home, there they're sitting on like a little ledge. Someone found them and must have put them on a ledge. So I found my keys.
Oh, well, that's the old Robson luck there of I've done something really stupid, but hey, everything's worked out in the end.
Yeah. Alright, let's dive into this episode review, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright, cool. So, episode 2, The Spider Slayer. Now, when I was a kid, this was my first introduction to a lot of the characters in this episode that we're about to see. And I just immediately, when I watched this, I was thinking, I can't wait for all of these characters and all of the arcs that are going to hit, which we'll get into. But let's start at the beginning with some notes and stuff about showrunners on this particular episode, writers, and then we'll get into the big meaty chunks of the episode itself.
Okay, yeah, and I will say, like, this is a very, like, I know this sounds a bit silly, but if you want to know how to write a story, watch this episode, because there's so many fucking layers. Like, I was just thinking about, like, Eddie Brock's set up in it, being fired. Like, I don't want to jump ahead or anything, but, like, there is so much stuff in this episode that sets up everything you know about Spider-Man and the animated series. And I was just like, when it was done, like, I know it's very nerdy, but I was just like, oh, bravo, brilliant stuff.
I'm surprised you didn't go on to the next one, but I suppose you're saving it.
I wanted to, but I'm saving them.
Okay, cool. So, director of this episode is Bob Richardson, which is the show's main head producer. So
Oh, nice.
he directed this episode. It's written by John Semper Jr. and Stan Berkowitz. We talked about John Semper Jr. and we talked about Stan Berkowitz already. Featuring characters created by Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, Todd McFarlane, and David Michelinie.
Yeah, I knew I got his name right.
Yeah. And also we've got John Romita Sr. as credited for character creation in this. He created Robbie Robertson and the Kingpin.
Oh, cool.
Louise Simonson and Mary Wiltshire created Alistair Smythe. Simonson, yeah, Louise Simonson and Mary Wilshire created Alistair Smythe. Thanks for that correction.
Smythe? No, I don't even know if that's the actual correction. I just
sounds better than what I said. And Marv Wolfman and Keith Pollard created the Black Cat, or Felicia Hardy, in this episode.
She is jokes in this episode.
I know, her arc is...
She's like,
yeah.
Screw you, Parker. I don't want to date you, you nerd. And then she sees him in a tux, and she's like, fuck you, Flash Thompson. I'm dating Parker.
He wears that tux like a man. And then we've got Christopher Daniel Barnes as Peter Parker Spider-Man, who also I forgot to credit in our first episode we ever did on this, episode 0. He also obviously came back as Spider-Man quite a few times in video game variations as well. Which was great to hear our Spider-Man voice, like in, I think he was like Spider-Man Noir in a video game, and Web of Shadows. He was...
Yeah, I never even played those games, but I knew that his voice was in it. There's one Spider-Man video game where it's you play as a bunch of different Spider-Men through time.
That's Web of... Oh, no, it's not. No, it's another one, sorry. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, though, and he is Noir in that one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then we got Ed Asner as J. Jonah Jameson, Linda Gary as Aunt May, Rodney Salisbury as Robbie Robertson, and also Masked Leader number 4. I can't wait to get into those Masked Leaders, because how funny were those guys? They were
so generic, like, I'm a bad guy!
I know, I can't wait to go into that, where like Brock is like, hey, I got First Amendment rights, and he's like, we just amended them.
Yeah, oh my god, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Also, the costumes that they're wearing, I've seen in a McFarlane book before. The Silver Sable issue I was talking about, she takes on guards and they're wearing those exact outfits. So when I saw that as well, I was just like, this is dope!
Oh, it's just, Marvel doing what Marvel does best. So, we've also got Jennifer Hale as Felicia Hardy. Now, this is the first time we've met Felicia Hardy. As we know, she goes on to be a big part of the show. And we've got honourable mentions here. Jennifer Hale is Miss Keene from Powerpuff Girls.
Oh my god, yes, she is.
Yep, she is Friday from Avengers Assemble cartoon.
Who?
Friday, the automatic, it's kind of like Jarvis, his new Jarvis, Tony Stark's new Jarvis. Friday.
Oh, Friday, that's a weird name. I don't remember that.
It's in the movies too, man. Where you been?
I don't know, I'm drunk. No, I'm kidding.
We've got, she's also Iris West and Billy Batson in Justice League Flashpoint animated movie, so she played Flash's love interest, and also Billy Batson, which is the young boy that turns into Shazam, which is interesting. She played a little boy as well. We've got Carol Danvers, Miss Marvel in Avengers Assemble cartoon. She was Miss Marvel.
Oh, cool.
We've got Commander Shepard in the Mass Effect video games. She's really well known for that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I've been eBay hunting for those games because I've never played them, but the reason I want them is because they're made by the same team that made Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which is an amazing video game. So they moved on from that to work on that, so I've been hunting for that. So I will definitely keep an ear out for them.
Yeah, you'll be hearing Felicia Hardy. And we've also got, her list goes on, we've got Killer Frost in Batman the Brave and the Bold, we've got Jean Grey in the 2011 X-Men cartoon series, we've got Galadriel and Arwen in the Lord of the Rings video games, we've got Trinity in the Path of Neo video game, we've got Elektra Overroa in Cowboy Bebop movie.
Oh, wow.
And many, many more voiceover roles and cartoons.
Damn, she's
and video
working!
Games. Yeah, she is.
Working.
Yeah, she's like one of the hardest working women in voiceover acting today.
That's awesome. That's such a cool job being a voice actor. I always thought that was just so cool.
Yeah, it is cool, for sure. We've got also
Vishal.
Also, I think we'll talk about it in some later episodes, but when they recorded any episode, they all had everybody that did the voices in the scene were in the room at the same time, just like Batman the Animated Series, unlike other shows where they recorded them separately in booths, so they could play off one another, see emotions, and it just made for better recording and quality.
Interesting.
So we got Hank Azaria as Eddie Brock and the Masked Leader number 5. We've got, this is going to be hard for me to say, Patrick Labyorteaux. I think it's Labyorteaux, or Labyorteaux. It's French, but that's how I'm saying it, Labyorteaux. Which is, I'm an Englishman butchering the French language, there's nothing new there. He was Flash Thompson in this episode.
He was a fucking prick in this show.
Well, Flash Thompson's a prick, so
I know, but like, he was just a dickhead.
Yeah, he was. And honourable mentions for Patrick Labyorteaux. We've got, he was Fester in the Three Ninjas movie, which I have no idea, I've never seen it, I know of it, but that's about as
I've
far
seen
as that
Three
goes.
Ninjas a very long time ago.
Right, he was Marv in Yes Man. He was Dr. Hoffman in Godzilla, the animated series based off the 90s movie.
Wait, they made an animated series Godzilla movie from the 90s?
Yeah, I mean, think about all the properties they made an animated series off in the 90s.
I have to see. We loved that as a kid. We had all the toys of that. We were really into that.
Yeah, I mean, we liked the little, like, Velociraptor Godzilla ones, didn't we? Those are the coolest.
I remember liking that film as a kid. I bet if I watched it now, I'd be like, "Oh, I had bad taste."
Yeah, you've got, what's his face?
Matthew...
You're close, yeah, Matthew. Oh, God.
Broderick?
Yes, Matthew Broderick. Well done.
Hey!
Ferris Bueller himself. So, yeah, he's in that movie, and he's... yeah, I'm sure it doesn't age well. And finally, Patrick Labyorteaux was also Andy Garvey in Little House on the Prairie. To continue on, we've got Neil Ross. Now, Neil Ross is Norman Osborn, and he's also played Masked Leader number 3 in this episode. Neil Ross is also someone that we've heard in quite a few things. He's Colonel Volgin in the Metal Gear Solid video games.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. He's museum narrator in Back to the Future 2. I barely remember a museum narrator.
Hang on, so who's this in Spider-Man?
He is Norman Osborn / the Green Goblin.
That's really cool.
And he's also in this episode, he's Masked Leader number 3. He's Honest John in American Tail, Five All Goes West. Do you remember that film, Five All Goes West?
I do.
Yep, so Honest John. We've got Bone Crusher in the Transformers cartoons. Mac Monge in SWAT Cats. God, I love SWAT Cats. Oh, such a good show. He was also Doctor Doom in 1994's Fantastic Four cartoon. He was Quack Malladson in Darkwing Duck. He was Shipwreck and Buzzer in G.I. Joe. And also, strangely enough, he played Norman Osborn in Spider-Man the 1981 cartoon series and Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends cartoon series.
Oh, so for people that have been watching for a long time, that's their Norman Osborn from day one.
And Green Goblin voice that you hate so much.
Oh, I do hate that voice. That's why I remember we was talking about how you're like, oh no, is that from that or is that from something from the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends? Well, it's the same dude.
It's the same dude, yeah, that's why because I was getting confused with the crossover there, but yeah, there you go, same voice, and that's, I don't know how you don't like that, because I love his Green Goblin voice, but anyway, it's not that, it's more like, what was he saying, when he's like, I'm here for peace and justice, I like more along those lines. Yours sounds like the Muppet version of the Green Goblin.
I'm going to chuck Gwen Stacy up a roof.
So we've got also in this episode, because we've got a lot of people, a lot of characters introduced. We've got Gary Imhoff, who plays Harry Osborn, and also Masked Leader number 2.
And also, Harry Osborn looks super McFarlane Harry Osborn in this as well.
Yeah, especially, I love the haircut between him and Norman. That's just so comic book haircut, that is. It looks great.
The unexplained cornrows, like when you have to draw it, you're like, this makes no sense, but I have to draw it.
Yeah, it is a weird cut for both of them. And then also, honourable mentions for Gary Imhoff. He was Prince Cornelius in the Thumbelina, which is a movie I never saw, but a Disney film back in the 90s. We've got Edward Mulhare as Spencer Smythe, so Alice's dad. Honourable mentions for him, he was Devon Miles in the Knight Rider show in the 80s.
And he's definitely not British, right?
I
Like I was
don't
watching,
know. I don't know.
I was watching that show and I was like, that sounds like a fake British accent.
So it's funny you say that because I've never understood because he has a British accent, but Alistair doesn't have one, does he?
Yes, he did. He did. He did. I think it was a bad approach, but he did. You know who is super British in the show is the fucking Kingpin.
That's
He's
true.
like, hello, I'm Winston fucking Churchill,
Yeah.
aka the Kingpin.
Sacrifices must be made. So Maxwell Caulfield is Alistair Smythe. Now, when I saw one of the people he played, I was like, oh my god, that is not Alistair Smythe. So before I get into that, honourable mentions for him. He was Michael in Grease 2. He was Miles Colby in The Colbys, which I don't know anything about. He was James Bond in 007 Nightfire video game.
Oh shit!
So he's not English, this guy. He's American, so he does, if he can pull off a Piers Brosnan.
So the guy isn't like Smythe is American then.
Smythe is American, and the reason I know this mainly
Nailed it.
The reason I know this mainly is Maxwell Caulfield, the guy who plays Alistair Smythe, also is Rex Manning in Empire Records. Do you remember that film, Empire Records?
I do. Is he the guy with the black hair that's skinny?
No, he's the guy that is the big pop singer that's coming to sign autographs at the shop, and he ends up shagging Liv Tyler or one of the people. Liv Tyler's in the movie. There's a guy who wants Liv Tyler's deal real bad. It's all about this music shop and how it's run. And Rex Manning is the guy who sings a song like "Say No More, Money More," and he's got this really cheesy '80s video.
I've got a computer in front of me, so I'm just going to look it up.
Yeah, look up Maxwell Caulfield because.
I just searched Rex Manning.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his face, rings no bells.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
I haven't seen that film since I was a kid. I was like, that's not a Kevin Smith movie? Oh, okay. Thought it was.
So yeah, to move on to the last appearance, and probably the best, we've got Roscoe Lee Brown as the Kingpin.
Yes. The best voice in an animated show.
Indeed.
It's terrible. Terrible impersonation.
Now, we've talked about some honourable mentions with Roscoe Lee Brown before, but there's some other ones here that I wanted to go through because I was doing a lot of narrators, he was a narrator on Epic Movie and Garfield 2 and stuff, but Roscoe Lee Brown was Box in Logan's Run, a popular film I never saw, but Logan's Run nonetheless. He was Francis in Disney's Oliver and Company. He was Dr. Wataki in Batman the Animated Series. If you remember, he's the one that helps the Clock King create the time freezing device.
Yeah, okay.
He was Great Mystic Gnome in Freakazoid. A lot of people know him from Freakazoid. And also he did a bunch of voices in Pirates of Darkwater, which was a show we used to watch in the very early 90s.
Okay. Now, if you could cast him as one of the voices in anything, what would you have him be?
Roscoe Lee Brown?
Yeah.
In anything?
Yeah.
Oh.
I've got two things in mind.
Alright, well shoot.
One, he'd be an excellent Goldfinger.
Oh, he would be an amazing...
Hello, Mr. Bond.
Oh, he would... Yeah, no, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Yeah, oh my god, that gives me chills.
Yeah. That's really good.
And then the other one I've completely forgot, so we'll just move on.
Alright, well, he's a Goldfinger, and that's the best choice, so you wouldn't...
Oh, Shredder, I was going to say.
Oh, that's a really good one, too.
You bloody turtles.
Yeah, he'd be a really good Shredder as well. Oh, two very good paws. I couldn't beat that. Well done. And then finally we've got music by Udi Harpez, Shuki Levy and Haim Saban as normal, and this episode premiered February 4th, 1995, which is a big jump from the first episode, which premiered November 19th, 1994. So you've got a significant 3-month gap there from the first episode and then going into the series on a regular basis, week to
Now,
week.
this is where it was a bit confusing, because I went to sit down to watch it, and I was about to watch
Sting and the Scorpion.
the Scorpion episode, because in my listing that's episode 2, but you've corrected me, so that is very interesting. I wonder what the story is there, because you said that yours is the correct one. So I wonder why. That's a huge gap.
It is a huge gap.
Was it a pilot? Was it just a pilot that was released then?
That was my thinking, is that it was a pilot that was shown in November, and then by the time they got stats back, it was probably mid-December, and they went, well, it's Christmas now, so we're not going to do anything, because Fox Kids is probably full of Christmas movies and, everything like that had to do with Christmas, sell toys, and then January came around, they probably got the green light, the series did really well, and then they kicked off for a February 4th release. However, I was thinking that the only thing that could contradict that is the intro to Spider-Man the Animated Series had loads of scenes that were obviously already drawn and animated from episodes in season 1 that were later to come. So I was thinking that there's no way they didn't have other episodes already animated.
Well, that's weird then.
Yeah, it's a big jump. So maybe we'll find out in conversations with people that were involved with the show. Like I said, or you said in the last episode, we've been contacted on Twitter with someone that was a voice actor on the show, which was pretty cool, and we're just trying to organise dates around hopefully bringing that person on. But also, been reached out to producers and writers and stuff like that. So who knows, maybe we'll find out one day. Alright, let's kick off this episode. Let's do this, yeah?
Yep.
So we've got, starts with Spider-Man, and he's like taking a breather, he's on a ledge, and he's just like, I need to get away from life. Life is just too complicated, and I just like to be up here. And you can even see the little gargoyle, Bruce, in the background there.
I don't remember that at the beginning. I thought it started with him walking with Felicia, and she's like mugging him off, and then he's like, I'm going to go be Spider-Man.
Nah, mate, that's fucking Sting and the Scorpion, so you're confusing both episodes.
Oh, God.
So then we've got Spider-Man is suddenly being chased and tracked and attacked by the mini-flying robots known as the Spider Seekers.
Yeah. And also, I was wondering if Dan Slott took a lot of influence from this episode for his, what's his Dr. Octopus
Superior Spider-Man.
Superior Spider-Man. Do you remember he had all the little nanobots and all of the Spider Slayers and all of that stuff? And like watching this episode, I was like, oh man, that feels very much like Dan Slott was influenced by that.
That's true, yeah.
Or it could just be a coincidence.
But who knows? But they're cool, and I know that those little Spider Seekers particularly stuck with us, and I think that we were writing a story once. Maybe it was even that crappy Raven story where we had things like that. But I remember we always liked the mini-flying robots because, they're just fun. So we got some great shots of Spider-Man. He's web-slinging through the city as they chase him. I like the narration too with Spidey, where he's narrating how smart they are, because they're obviously tracking him and they're maneuvering with him, but then he uses their intelligence against them to destroy them and making them crash into one another.
But the best bit, I think, is obviously it cuts to Smythe's dad and Norman Osborn, and I love how Smythe's dad's like, I was not supposed to catch him now, it was all part of my plan, mate, like these are just to track him, like we're good, like don't worry.
Yeah, shut up.
They've done their job.
This. Yeah, I got this,
yeah.
Norman, shut the fuck up.
I just thought that was cool. Like, you don't see that in a cartoon. Usually they'd be like, damn curses, Spider-Man, he stopped us. But like, I liked how he was like, nah, mate, that was on purpose. And I was like, oh, shit. Plot twist.
Yeah, so as you said, we've got Norman Osborn, we've got Spencer and Alistair Smythe. And obviously, Spencer is short-lived, but Norman Osborn, we all know the arc and what's coming for him in this show.
Well, I think Alistair is one of the most interesting arcs in the show. Like, he ends up being like a mutant freak at the end of it.
Yeah, he becomes a cyborg, like a Terminator. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know.
And I also love it in this how, like, Norman Osborn's mugging off his dad. And he's like, hey, that's my dad. He's a super, like he's really smart. He went to Princeton or whatever. He says something like that. And it's like, all right, we get it. This is exposition. But, like, I just thought it was funny how he just stepped in like, don't you mug off my dad. How you all say that?
Yeah, I did find that funny. I also find Alistair's mullet is just classic. I mean that mullet is all business in the front and party in the back, and it's like it looks oily and curly, and it's a fucking cartoon. It just looks really greasy. So then we've suddenly cut to Black Widow Spider Slayer, and I think that just looks the business. I think it looks really cool the way they've set it up. I think it's pretty messed up that they designed a machine of a spider to kill Spider-Man. It's like, hey, the thing that gave you your powers? Now it's going to be giant and try and fucking kill you.
Yeah, and I also thought I was waiting for a reference back to the Marvel Universe being called Black Widow. but
that's a point.
never got
Yeah,
that.
that is a very good point. Didn't even think about that.
Because Spidey was cracking jokes, and I thought he was going to be like, you're not Russian.
Well, you know what's interesting? Because they have Shield in later episodes in the show as well, and they have Nick Fury, but they don't have Black Widow. Instead, they have a woman that's called Agent X.
Well, that's interesting, because there is an Agent X in the X-Men universe. You know, remember, I'm pretty sure Agent X is in X-Men Origins Wolverine. He's like the Asian guy that's hunting Wolverine. I'm pretty sure that's Agent X.
All right. Well, either way, I still think that the Black Widow Spider Slayer just looks really cool. I like it.
Did we have a toy of it as kids?
We definitely did. We had all three of them, and then you could stack them up to make the Mega Slayer, which is obviously coming. Spoiler alert! In the next episode. So yeah, we had all of those, and they were just really cool, and they were pretty intricate toys as well. I mean, when we do the toy review episode, which I'm really looking forward to,
Me too.
We'll go down that road. So then we cut to after that, and I also quickly as well, I like how they describe how impenetrable the Black Widow's armor is by using like a specific acid, and then to use like just to put a little screw in. He's like, "Careful, Alistair, that's the only thing that can pierce the Widow's armor," and you're just like, "That's definitely going to come into play later."
Obviously,
Yeah.
I mean, as a kid, you just like a doy, but as an adult, you're like, I see where this is going. And I'm like, I'm not convinced Spider-Man's going to get killed by this thing.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot more than that. So then we cut to Peter Parker looking at recent photos of his encounter with the Spider Seekers, and I think that's pretty amazing that he had time in such an impromptu attack to be like, you know what, I'm going to set up a camera over here, and I'm going to get a picture of this, and he was swinging all over the city. So what's he got, like fucking 30 cameras set up in different buildings? I was like, that's a stretch.
Really good autofocus that must focus on like Scarlet or something like that.
Yeah, and they were great photos, and instead he just like chucked him in a box. I'm like, what are you doing? That's money.
Now, also in this episode, J. Jonah Jameson says that Eddie Brock has a big scoop for me, and I was like, is Eddie Brock a reporter in this show, or is he a photographer? Because I think he might actually be a reporter, and we might have been making fun of him for the wrong reasons in episode 1.
Yeah, that's true, because you don't see him with a camera, do you? You don't see him going around taking pictures, so that is a very good point, I guess.
And he also says, J. Jonah Jameson in this episode also says, my best, reluctantly he says, my best photographer is Peter Parker. So I don't think that Eddie Brock is a photographer in this. And now I'm thinking, is Eddie Brock even a photographer in the comics, or are we just thinking he's a photographer because of the shitty Spider-Man 3 film?
Oh, you could be right. That's really bad that we think that.
Yeah.
Oh, shame on us. So, without dwelling on that, Felicia Hardy introduction. We've got her in the Daily Bugle. She's obviously talking with Robbie Robertson and JJ, and it's interesting for me to see her to begin with as this like spoilt rich little teenage girl. You know, she's just like, we're doing this and we're doing that and we're going and doing this, and she's just like really prissy and uptight. But then you think about this character has so much to come. You've got the Morbius saga and just all of that horrible heartache she has to go through.
Oh, she's so interesting in the show. She's one of the best. Again, like I would put her story arc, Smythe's, and Venom's is probably my top story arcs in the show.
Yeah, I agree, because obviously also, besides the Black Cat, which is a great arc as well, she also, before even that, she marries the Hobgoblin without knowing it's the Hobgoblin.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Which is crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Poor Felicia.
I know. As we said earlier, the Hobgoblin's basically like an evil Batman Bruce Wayne.
Life is very hardy for her.
Oh, look who's punning it up.
I get a little cheeky pun there, but...
So, I do like, as you said earlier, how JJ's like, I'm going to put my best photographer on it, and he's holding his fingers behind his back and crossing them. I was like, I love how he can't not do that. He's just like, it's going to be jinxed. I have to at least cross my fingers if I'm going to lie.
Yeah, it's jokes.
So yeah, and then obviously Peter meets up with Felicia, and she knows him from school. Loads of flirty banter. He's getting all fucking googly-eyed and stuff. And what did JJ say? Something like, "Your mouth's open." He's like, "Parker, your mouth's open," as she leaves the room.
Yeah, that was pretty old-fashioned, I think.
Yeah, it was. So Then we go back and we go back inside the lab, and we see that Eddie Brock is a part of this whole Spider Slayer
Yeah,
saga.
so many freaking characters in this episode, and they all blend really well. It's much like Spider-Man: Homecoming, where you just like, well done, everybody.
Yeah, you found a place for everybody, and no one was overstepping or taking up too much screen
Yep.
time. They all served a purpose. Yeah, I totally agree. And obviously, Eddie's in it because he wants to get the scoop on unmasking Spider-Man, and Norman establishes, I want to catch Spider-Man because he's a criminal. I want to catch him because he's a criminal.
I know, which is a weird motivation, unexplained. Right?
Well, yeah, but actually, that's just Norman's lies, because later on we find out the real reason he's involved with the
shit.
Spider Slayer.
Even more layers I'm not prepared for. There's a moment where it's like Norman, Eddie Brock, and Alistair, and I'm just like, you guys are big bad guys one day.
Yeah.
You're all going to be freaks.
Yeah, it's like seeing kids in freshman year and knowing that in senior year they're going to be like the best of the best.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Oh, and Eddie Brock also goes full my impersonation of him in this episode.
Oh yeah, he really does. You do a much
There is
better
one
job
point where he
now.
goes like, "Goddamn Spider Me."
Well, he doesn't say goddamn, otherwise censorship would have been way
Yeah,
up
but
his arse.
I forgot what he says. He's like, "You fired me? What the hell? Well, what the bejeebers or whatever I'm allowed to say."
Oh, boss, no, don't fire me, come on!
Yeah, a lot like that.
Yeah, don't
was
do
pretty
that.
good.
After we're back in the lab and we see Eddie Brock, and he's going to go prepare his team and get ready for the unmasking. He wants to get in JJ's good books after the lizard incident. We then see why Spencer Smythe is doing this, which is obviously for his son and creating a hover chair, which we see in the worst CG created hover chair ever.
Now this is also something really cool because it's like, I'm doing this for Osborn because I need money for this, and then Norman Osborn's like, I'm doing this because he's like something to do with the Kingpin.
Yeah.
And that scene when he's like, I just realized like that no matter what happens, you're gonna win. He's like, that's why they call me the Kingpin. And
Yeah.
he comes out of the darkness. I was like, oh mate, you're a fucking legend.
Yeah, so he's doing it to go back. Spencer's doing it for Alistair because there was a big explosion and he caused his son to be handicapped, which is pretty messed up.
It's very messed up.
So he's made him this sweet hover chair. I've written down here, I said it's pretty messed up that he caused an explosion that put his son in a wheelchair. How about spending money on figuring out a way for him to walk again and not spend his life in a hovering bumper car?
Well, he would go to Kurt Connors, and Connors would be like, oh, well, we can regrow his legs, but he might turn into a big fucking lizard.
That's true. Or just, if you can come up with a hover chair, you can probably come up with something that will enable your legs to be able to walk again, some exoskeleton or something.
Yeah, but he was probably like, he's like, I've seen that guy, Xavier, and he's got a dope chair, so I want that shit.
I do find there's a funny moment where Alistair smacks his leg really hard when he finds out why his dad is doing this, and you hear a massive thump when he does it, and he doesn't move at all because he's just completely numb from the waist down. Like, he fucking lays into his leg when he's just like, that's why you're working for Osborn, and he fucking like punches his leg and doesn't even flinch, and I was like, oh mate,
That's awful.
I feel so sorry for you.
So I missed some of these subtleties because I was watching it whilst working today.
Yeah, that's fine.
So-
I mean, I've watched this episode like 4 times, man, so don't worry about it.
You didn't miss a beat.
Yeah. So getting to the moment then that you've been talking about that we both absolutely loved, the introduction of the motherfucking Big Daddy himself, Kingpin.
Oh, he's just the best. He's so good.
He really is the best in this episode, in this series.
I could hear him ordering a sandwich from Subway, and it'd be the best thing in the world. Like, I want Italian herbs and cheese with turkey breasts.
I would like a
Yeah. Mayonnaise!
Smythe, where's my sandwich?
Chipotle Southwest mail.
That's all the reason he becomes the Kingpin is so he can start his own sandwich shop. Oh my god, called the Kingpin, that'd be amazing. I love the way they do it. So first of all, we see the Chrysler Building, which every time I went to New York, we both went as kids, I would always think, that's where the Kingpin hangs out. Every
I
time.
know. Even today, I look at the crossbow and I'm like, "Oh, Kingpin's there. You better watch out."
Yeah. And it used to have that. It used to have that giant part of the building that would come down as like an entranceway slash like helipad. You know, and I was always thinking, like, how has no one in New York noticed that giant piece of the building opening up?
Yeah, it was the 90s, guy.
Yeah. So we see him shadowed in his desk in a massive office as Osborn approaches him, and he just looks the fucking business. And you hear, "Climb! My livelihood, my life. All of it jeopardized by the sudden appearance of Spider-Man. How can I run a worldwide criminal empire if I can't even run my home base in New York?" And you're just like,
it's brilliant.
So
So
good. So Osborn reveals the reason that he's involved. He's in debt with the Kingpin, and that's why he's causing this whole Spider Slayer mess to roll out. And if Spider-Man is destroyed, then Kingpin gets what he wants, and Osborn's off the hook. If he isn't, then Kingpin gets Oscorp as a payment of the debt. And that's when Osborn goes, "I just realised something," and he says what I just said. And then you just get that chubby baby face lean in, shadowed up, and he's like, "That's why I'm the Kingpin."
I was like, you are a fucking legend, mate.
He really is. It was just like total stand-up applause moment. I'm like, Roscoe Lee Brown, you are the Kingpin.
I mean, he's so Winston Churchill as well.
Oh my God, you're totally right.
It's just like, we will fight Spider-Man on the shores of Trenton.
On the bridges.
Of Washington.
Oh, that's really good. Oh my God. So then we cut to the party. We cut to the party that Felicia's organised, which is obviously...
Bring me a Subway sandwich, Smythe.
I'm just going to let you keep on going now. Clearly, I'm not going to be able to talk about this.
I just love the idea of, like... Because obviously they get into cahoots eventually. I just love the idea of Kingpin being a complete dickhead to Smythe. And just the way he just goes, "Smythe! Smythe! I did not bring a towel into the bathroom, Smythe. Can you go downstairs and get me one?"
Oh my God, that'd be so good. And then he has to go in. He has to go in there and see him naked. And he's like, "Oh."
Turn around, Smythe.
What, in the hover chair?
Yeah. Smythe! There's no toilet paper in the bathroom.
Can't that hover chair go any faster?
Smythe, I'm cold. I'm sorry, just to think of it. Smythe! I'm bored. Do you want to play Monopoly?
We can do a whole episode of this, so we should just stop. We're already...
Alright, I will stop.
Oh my God. So we've got the party that was being organised by Felicia, and we are introduced to Harry Osborn and Flash Thompson. Felicia and Flash are together as a couple. I thought Flash's purple tuxedo was just fucking weird. I'm like, what are you wearing that for?
It's the 90s. That's my excuse for all this.
But all purple is just so bizarre.
Smythe, have you seen that purple tux? It matches my trousers.
So then Peter enters the party and he brings Aunt May as his date, which I thought was quite sweet.
Which is so sweet.
It is really sweet. And he's just like, "Come on, Aunt May, like, have some fun." And she's like, "It's nice, Peter, but I'd rather just be happy watching my cable TV at home."
Yeah. She's like, "I'd be happy just watching The Price is Right with a nice, like, bowl of popcorn." He's like, "That sounds pretty dope. Let's go do that."
And then, of course, we get a really cool line from Aunt May where she mentions bringing Mary Jane, Anna Watson's niece.
Oh, yeah, this was another thing about the episode where I was like, I didn't even realize in the show that they did the blind date thing, which is like one thing that they've completely missed out of the films, which is one of the best things about Spider-Man, this whole mystery blind date that's drawn out where he's like, "Yeah, Aunt May, I know it's going to be setting me up with some girl. I'm sure she's nice."
Yeah.
But, you know. And then, you can't have her call him Tiger without that scene. Like, oh, it's brilliant.
I agree. Yeah, and also I just love how he's trying to avoid it all the time and making excuses. And then, of course, when he finally meets her, it's the whole future love of his life.
I mean, what a fuck! I mean, this is actually a very, very good episode. Like, it really sets up a lot. The Lizard was like, I guess it is a pilot. It's like, this is what the show is going to be like. But this episode's like, all right, here we go. This is what this series is going to be.
You know why it works so well, this episode, over the last one, is that besides what you just mentioned, which I totally agree with, it also, the last one had to create a villain, and you have to have a villain's backstory and how his motivation and why he or she is turned to a life of crime. Where this, there is no real villain. The Spider Slayers are the real threat. It's just all the people behind the scenes, and those people have motivations that are very clear, concise, and quick. So you can focus directly on Peter Parker's life and why he's got so much going on with all these characters around him, and how his Parker life and his Spider-Man life aren't separate. They blend constantly with the same people and problems.
It's definitely a setup episode, and it's done really fucking well. Like it is actually absolutely quality making. Like, it is really good. I'd put it up there with Shakespeare and Poe. No,
So Felicia then spots Peter, and as you mentioned earlier, she's just like, forget the purple tuxedo. She's like, I want purple bow tie over there, because he's got a black tux but a purple bow tie. Clearly everybody just loves fucking purple at this party. So she goes over to Peter. Flash is then jealous, and he brings Harry out to his car, and he changes into a Spider-Man costume. And
he talks about that he's in a frat as well.
And guess who?
Is that what you're about to say? Sorry.
Yeah, and guess who obviously bought a Spider-Man costume when he was in a frat, went to a party, and in the previous episode, listeners know I got my fucking arse handed to me.
Yeah, so this is your story. You are Flash Thompson.
Yeah, except for if Flash Thompson lives and doesn't get his ass kicked.
Well, if you're Flash Thompson, you'll eventually lose your legs in the war, and then you'll become Venom yourself. So have fun with that guy.
I know. Can you imagine if they did that in the show? That would have been just craziness.
Yeah, it's like Smythe's like, I can't walk, and he's like, I have no legs. My legs aren't gone. They've disappeared, as the show would say.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. My legs. Yeah. I'll find them one day. So Spider Seekers then lock onto Flash, and they see him as dressed up as Spider-Man, so automatically they think, oh, there's Spider-Man.
Yeah, not a great system. Like, maybe they could have like gotten like weight and height and like muscle mass, but they're just like, there's a guy in a Spider-Man costume. That is clearly Spider-Man. That's a bit like far-fetched.
Yeah, not to mention he's walking through the front door. When do you ever see Spider-Man walk through a fucking front door of an apartment complex? He's just like, dum-de-dum-dum-dum, walk through the front door, and they're like, there he is, that's Spider-Man, that's got to be him.
Yeah.
What's really funny to me is also how frivolous Felicia is, because she's obviously with Flash, but then she has like one dance with Peter, and then she's just like, and she's being all flirty, and he's being like very witty back. He's like, there's a lot you don't know about me, and then she's like, I want to find out, and she kisses him, and I'm like, you're with Flash Thompson, what are you doing?
Yeah, a bit rude.
Yeah, you floozy. So Flash Spider-Man then shows up and stuns the room, and I love that Parker knows it's an imposter, and he's not threatened by him. And I also like, when he's grabbing him, and he's just like, I don't like the pictures you've been taking of me. And he's just like, well, I'm sorry. He just really plays into, I know you're not Spider-Man because I'm Spider-Man. So everything you're doing right now, I'm just going to be completely unintimidated by. I just thought that was a cool little thing that they did.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, not broken glass, but a broken fucking concrete ceiling, the Spider Slayer just bombs straight into
is that how they get around broken glass? And they're just like, well, we can break a wall, right? They're like, yeah, Roadrunner does it. All right, cool.
Yeah, it's just like all rubble. Like, would have crushed so many people there.
You can't slit someone's throat with rubble like you can with glass. You may be able to bash their fucking brains in, but...
Yeah, so then after that giant attack, Peter then shoves Aunt May into a room and says, stay here. And I love, it's like in Batman Forever, I like a party scene where the hero has to run away and quickly change and then come back to the party as the hero. I don't know why I like it, but it reminded me of that, and it's just really cool. So then Spidey fights the Black Widow for the first time, and there's a cheesy, a great pun where he goes, when you crash a party, you really crash it. And I'm like, oh my god, Spider-Man, come on.
Oh yeah, I thought you would have loved that, because you fucking love a good pun.
I do, but, and the whole cheese...
I just pictured you being like, got him!
So during the whole fight and in the rubble, the Spider Slayer then, of course, picks up the wrong Spider-Man, which is the Flash Thompson Spider-Man, and then it flies up towards the moon. And at one point, I thought it was going to spread its legs and pull like a Batman 89 in front of the moon and do a spider logo, but no such luck. So then we cut back to the apartment, and if you think about it as well, JJ must be like $1 million in debt from damage. Like, there's a fucking reason to hate Spider-Man. It's ridiculous, like, how much damage was done to that
Well,
apartment.
he says that. He's like, this is gonna cost me $1 million.
I know. Yeah, earlier he was bitching about, like, funding Felicia's party. Like,
Yeah, he's like, paper plates and plastic cups.
it's BYOB.
Yeah, yeah. Eat before you come.
So he goes into...
It's not free candy.
He goes into a room, and Aunt May's there. And why is Aunt May still at J. Jonah Jameson's house? Like, everyone's left.
She's like, I really don't want to be here, Peter. It's nice you invited me, but it's really late, and I'm in the city, and it's going to take me like an hour and a half to get downtown, so...
I was wondering at one point if she even cared where Peter was, because all he did was go, wait here and I'll be back. And of course then he's Spider-Man and he's wrapped up in this whole story.
She made that a kid.
Yeah, well, you know what she's probably doing? She's probably watching her cable TV in JJ's house.
Yes, it's like, ooh, the price is right now. She's like, man, I'm in some deep jeopardy. I better put on some jeopardy.
She goes to the drinks cabinet, pours herself a drink. She's like, good shit.
This party's kicking off now. And then like, she hears a meow. She's like, there's a cat in here? Oh my god, best party ever.
So then we cut to the TV. It's revealed Eddie Brock is on TV and he's got Spider-Man and he's ready to unmask it. So,
I also love in this scene that J. Jonah Jameson says to Eddie Brock, like, because Eddie Brock's going on, like, I'm going to reveal Spider-Man, I'm going to unmask him. And he keeps going on about it, like, this is the biggest news event. And I love how J. Jonah Jameson is like, all right, wrap it up, kid. Like, come on, I just want to see his face. Like, yeah, he says, I forgot what he says exactly, but he's just like, all right, wrap it up, bro.
Yeah, he does. He's like, all right, Brock, get on with it. Yeah. I do like that. So then Spider-Man comes in. He's seen on the ceiling, and he reveals, obviously, they've got the wrong guy. It's not Flash that's on TV. I do like how JJ's like, Spider-Man is just a kid? Unbelievable. I just thought that was great. So then we cut to the scene that Brock is filming, and Kingpin's men break in. They're wearing the gear that you said is from the comics, which I think is a cool little tidbit of information. And then I love that line where he's like, hey, I got First Amendment rights. And he's like, we've just amended them.
Yeah. Those thugs are ridiculous. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Santa Claus is Coming to Town, the animated claymation movie. And the guards in that, where they all speak like this. And there's one where Santa Claus is running away and he hides in the woods. And one of them just walks up to the woods and goes, we'll never find him in there. And that's it. But they're so lazy, like, yeah, that's the end of this job. And it just reminded me of that so much.
Yeah, it does. And it's just like, what a voice choice. Like, the guy sounds like he's got fucking stage 5 throat cancer. It's ridiculous.
That guy.
So... then Spider-Man jumps in, he takes down the guards and quips fucking constantly as he's doing it, but clearly having fun and clearly being Spider-Man, which is, I think, the best part about watching Spidey, is that as he's quipping and he's taking down these guards, he's having a good time being a superhero.
Now, we skipped over one of my favourite moments of this, and it's quite little, but when he kisses Felicia... it's the same exact moment that his spider sense goes off, that the Spider Slayer's coming. And that's just so Spider-Man. It's just always the wrong place, like, right place, wrong time.
Oh, I like that a lot. Yeah, no,
that's just classic Spider-Man. It's just like he gets a kiss from the girl that he fancies, and the moment the kiss, he can't even enjoy the kiss, because the moment their lips lock, he's like, why is my spider sense tingling right now?
Yeah.
And it's the Spider Slayer. And I just love all that stuff. And I don't know if you're about to go into it, but I love also when he comes back and Felicia's like, where have you been, you freaking coward? Like you've ran away. And it's just classic Spider-Man where it's like, well, great power, great responsibility.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a damn good point. And that's a good... I'm glad you watched and picked that up, because I missed that. So, during the scuffle and the attack with the Black Widow, the lab sets fire during the fight, and Spencer stays behind in order to finish the job he started, so he can kill Spider-Man, or destroy him, as they say, and give his son the hover chair. So Spider-Man runs out of web fluid during the attack.
Which is another thing that I loved about this episode.
Yeah.
Was that's a lovely problem to give Spider-Man. I guess now it's maybe a cop out because you can just make him run out of web fluid, but I think it's just another layer to add to that character of, no shit, I'm out of web fluid. I need to think about something different. Like it means he can't. It makes him less of a Superman where he can have like he's one of those only superheroes I can think of where suddenly one of his powers can just be like, oh, I can't use this power right now.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome. And you say it's a cop
Oh no,
out.
I love it. I love it.
But you say it's a cop out, but I haven't seen it in a movie.
No,
ever.
no. I'm saying I think maybe now it's more of a cop.
No,
out.
I know you're saying that, and I'm saying I still think that they should definitely do it in a movie because I think that would be great to see that that whole scene. You know, Tom Holland's obviously in a fight with whatever villain is in the next film.
Well, didn't he run out of web fluid in one of the Amazing Spider-Man films?
Oh, I try not to remember those. If they did, they didn't do a good job.
I think he did.
So going back to it, he then starts to figure out how am I going to take this thing down. He even gets on top of it and rides it like a mechanical bull at one point and says yippee-ki-yay, and I'm just like, say motherfucker, say motherfucker.
At first I was like, is he making a Die Hard reference? I was like, no, he's making a cowboy reference, you idiot. I was like, oh yeah.
I know, but you just...
But my first thought was like, that was like for the parents. I was like, no, that's for everyone that knows that cowboys say yippee-ki-yay.
So... Then we see that the Widow, while Spider-Man's on top of the Black Widow is targeting the Flash Spider-Man, thinking, oh, there's Spider-Man. The real one throws web cartridges. Why do I have such a problem saying cartridges?
Web cartridges.
It's really difficult. Web cartridges.
It's not really, but that's okay.
He throws the web cartridges into the Black Widow's jets. Which I thought was a really cool way of solving the problem. Like, okay, it needs the jets to fly. I've got web cartridges in my little utility belt, Spidey utility belt thing. If I chuck them into the jets, then when I push it off the ledge, it will try to jet up, and then it will then explode the web shooters, causing it to drop down into the vat of acid, which is conveniently located, a massive vat of acid, which is the only thing that can destroy it. But good old Spidey, figuring it out. On the move, and of course pulls it off with flying colours. So Spidey escapes with Flash before the whole lab blows up, and there's a moment with Flash where he is embarrassed about being put in this situation. Like, he's so vulnerable, and he was kind of saying, like, you know, please don't tell anyone about this, because obviously he likes to be the big jock that's really cool and always wins at the end of the day.
Yeah, he says specifically, like, oh my god, if Peter Parker figured this out, that'd be awful.
Yeah.
And I bet Spidey's just like, meh.
Yeah, he's like one for the old memory bank. But I do love how Spidey goes, now you know what type of trouble this costume attracts. And it's just like, yeah, you know, I'm a superhero and you want to be me, but also I have a fucking life that is really difficult when I put on this suit, and it's very dangerous.
Something you figured out many moons ago.
Yeah, so I was laying there bloody and beaten on the pavement. I was like, this costume is no joke.
To understand what we're talking about, please revisit episode 2 of Spider-Man: The Amazing Podcast.
Oh, I like when you. That's great. It's like a comic, and it's just referencing something. And
yeah, I'm like editorial.
Yeah, brilliant. I like that.
It may not be episode 2, but I think it was.
We then cut to the network. We go back to JJ's apartment complex, and he's like, "The networks are laughing at me, Brock. Even Fox." And you're like, "Oh, great." It's
I
on
know.
Fox
I thought
Kids.
that was a bit. Yeah, that's funny.
So Brock is then fired from the Bugle. Felicia breaks up with Flash, and then Felicia calls Peter a coward for abandoning everyone. So it was kind of like everybody, with all of their things that were happening in this episode, there was an end to it. Like, Brock's big break ended up completely backfiring, and now he's been fired from the Bugle, which we know just adds smoke to the fire with what's to come next. Felicia breaks up with Flash for being an idiot, and then of course Peter, who thinks, now I've got Felicia single and we had a moment, I can swoop in, and she's just like, no, you abandoned me, you coward, I don't want to be around you.
Yeah. So
that was really cool. And then of course Aunt May mentions the nice girl that she wants Peter to meet, and he's just completely hung up on Felicia still, so he doesn't care. And then we end a lovely cliffside where Alistair is watching the smoking lab, hoping his father would come out, and I'm like, that's pretty messed up that he just sat there, like, for how long? Because it was daylight, so I guess he sat there.
I'm not gonna help, I'm just gonna watch.
Yeah, can't do much in this chair. And then Kingpin rocks up behind him, and he looks massive next to Smite.
Kingpin.
I know, but he looks gigantic. You're just like,
That's the point of him.
I know it's the point, but it's just, and it's amazing to see, and it's just, he is so big, and I love how big they make the Kingpin. There was an episode I was watching over the weekend. It was a Green Goblin episode, and the Kingpin is next. He's in a lineup next to a bunch of people, and he is like the Hulk. He's gigantic.
Yeah.
So Kingpin and Smythe. Kingpin gives Smythe a proposition on, I was an associate of your father's, and now I want to be an associate of yours, and we can destroy Spider-Man. As he like wheels him off into the distance, and you just know, obviously we've seen the show. There's the team up that's to come, the ultimate villain team up. In my mind,
Yep.
It's so cool. Yeah, he's already like giving him a list of chores as he's walking off. He's like, at 9 o'clock, I would like tea by my bedside table, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Any higher, I kill you.
I send it back.
Yeah, I send it back. And that is the end of the episode. So yeah, as we were saying, this episode, after the Night of the Lizard, it really found its footing, I think, which is pretty good for episode 2, just going, okay, now we know what to do.
Yeah, like, even though the episode 1 is referred to later as something a part of the plot, with him turning into the spider mutant that Peter Parker eventually becomes, it's not like, that's not something that you can see happening. This is what's going to be going on in this story.
Yeah.
Like, at least season 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is also the first episode that has a lasting effect, and then kind of like a part 2, because the next episode, even though it's not part 2, it's not called Spider Slayers Part 2, it's called The Return of the Spider Slayers.
What, instantly? They come back instantly?
Yeah, that's the next episode, Return of the Spider Slayer.
Are you sure your DVD's correct with this order?
Yeah, not only that, but then you just go to Google and you just go through the episode list and you go through when they were released, and they tell you in order when they were released. So
Alright.
Don't mess with the master, son. I know this show. So let's go through Census Whip. I'm just going to play the theme real quick.
This is a joke, right? Oh, this is not a joke. Hey, I got First Amendment rights.
We just amended them.
Wait a minute, looks like I was mistaken.
Nothing personal, webhead.
Well, isn't this the story of my life? So, you don't like names, huh? Well, that's too bad, Frogface. Because to me, you're nothing but a two-bit, no-account, second-rate, sewer-breath baboon with the brain of a pigeon and the face of an eel.
Stop it!
Alright, for those that don't know, Census Whip is a play on words, as in censorship, which this show had a lot of. We had to go through a list for what they had to do for each episode, which was no punching, no use of the words kill, death, or die, and other variations of that word, no shooting bullets, no blood, or the use of the word blood, no breaking glass, no use of the words radioactive or other variations, and as we spoke about, the theme is fucking full of blood and radioactive.
Yeah, that's so metal.
Yeah. No children in peril, no foul language, and no harming pigeons, my favourite, pro-pidge.
Pro-pidge, baby.
So, no punching, that is correct. There was a few shoves, but there were no punches thrown in this episode. No use of the words kill, death, or die, or any other variations, that is true. We had destroy quite a lot.
And the disappearance of your father. I love that. Like,
Yeah.
it's great. It's not like, they're not like, mate, your dad burnt in a fire. It's like, your father has disappeared.
Yeah, what did they do at a funeral? They were just like, after the disappearance in the hospital.
Yeah. Till disappearance do us part.
That's good. We had no shooting bullets, obviously all laser guns. We had no blood, or the use of the word blood. No breaking glass, but shitloads of concrete that could far more damage people than breaking glass. No use of the words radioactive or other variations. No children in peril, unless you count Flash Thompson as a child. No foul language, and not a single pigeon even showed up in this episode, sadly.
Do pigeons show up at all in the show?
I'm yet to even see a pidge. Maybe one day I'll.
Not accurate of New York City, then.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was hoping at the beginning of this episode because he was up by Bruce and he was just like, he's obviously trying to get away from life, as he said. I was hoping to just see a little Pidgey flying in the background, but no such luck.
Maybe that'd be the next Spider-Man villain. I'm the pigeon!
So, just quickly, I like to go through each episode. For all the listeners, if you enjoy this podcast, please be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to us on iTunes, as it helps us wall crawl up the charts and attract more listeners. You can also find us on SoundCloud if you're not an iTunes user. You can even email us at staspodcast@gmail.com. That's Spider-Man the Animated Series Podcast. Also be sure to visit us on Facebook and Twitter pages by keyword searching STAS Podcast, where you can see images or clips from recent episode discussions, chat about the show, as well as leaving any comments or suggestions about the podcast. You can also follow Will on his social media pages to see his artwork, stay up to date with what he's working on now, and get a glimpse into the workday of a comic book artist. Will, where can our listeners find you?
Anywhere at Robson Inc. INK.
And please do check out his work, and please take some time in iTunes. It takes literally seconds just to rate us 5 stars, if you will, but of course I'm not going to make you do that, but leave a comment. It really helps with attracting more listeners. I was going through our episode today on iTunes, and it seems to be quite popular when you keyword search Spider-Man or Spider-Man Animated, so that's a really good sign. But yeah, let's keep on growing this thing and get more people involved in the show on board as well. Alright, let's start with Villains versus Villains.
Okay.
And then we'll move on for there.
Sacrifices must be made.
You're right on time for your funeral.
We call ourselves Venom.
So, for those that are just joining us, I have a list of villains from the animated series here, and it pertains to those characters in the animated series, so no other iterations from the comic books or anything like that. Will here will go through, and he picks 2 numbers. I've got a total of 33 villains on this list. Eventually, we're going to come down to 1 versus 1, villain takes all, so we're going to talk about whatever villain has to face off against one another, how they would win in a fight, and why, and eventually we'll crown a champion. So, Will, you have... we have the Lizard, who's going on to the next round, so he's not a choice. That was choice number 1. We had Dormammu, who was eliminated. That was choice number 9. He was beaten out by the Hobgoblin, which was number 15. He's going on to the next round. And Black Cat was eliminated at number 33 by the Lizard. Sadly, by the Lizard. So, you have the choices of numbers 2 to 14 or 16 to 32.
Okay, I will do 2 and 30.
2 is Kraven the Hunter.
Classic.
And the Vulture.
Kraven.
No, hang on a minute.
Instantly.
Hang on a minute. You can't just say
He's the hunter. He's going to hunt some guy named the fucking Vulture. And honestly, I'm sorry everyone out there, and I've drawn this character professionally before, but I hate the Vulture. I think he is so lame.
He's not lame. I can't hear you say this without cringing. The Vulture, and I've just watched those episodes, the Vulture is really cool. I think he's cool. I like how his whole angle is regeneration, so he's just trying to be young. And when he does regenerate, so the Vulture in the show has the ability to absorb the youth out of people, and at one point he touches Spider-Man, and he not only absorbs the youth out of Spider-Man, but he also absorbs Spider-Man's strength, which is awesome because then he's like Super Vulture. However, he also absorbs Spider-Man's neogenic DNA, and he starts to transform into the Man Spider, which is so fucked up.
But this is all a rip-off of Baron Strucker from Captain America. His whole shtick is he's alive because he sucks the youth out of people. And it's way better executed through that. And it makes way more sense in a Captain America view than in... So the problem I have with this character is it's nothing new. Whether the Vulture came before him, I don't know. I would assume not, though.
No, Kraven came first.
But like in Earth's mightiest... No, I'm talking about Vulture versus Baron Strucker.
Oh, right.
But like that Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon, when he sucks the life out of all those people, and that's how one character's hair goes grey. I forgot who it was. A little bit of a tangent. It's such a cool idea for that character, and in the sense of Hydra living on. And that's my personal opinions. I can get the appeal of Vulture a little bit, but I just think he's not a threat. I feel like he can be very easily beaten. Because in the books, he does not absorb people's powers. And I don't know if even in the
but
books...
we're not talking about the books. We're talking about the show. You've got to stop going to the books. It's about the characters in the show. So, Vulture...
Kraven would win because he's the ultimate hunter.
Okay, so as much as we can go through it, I have a feeling that we will ultimately reach Kraven winning, but it's still good to talk about it because you've got Vulture. His wings are made out of I forget if they even mention if it is made out of like adamantium or something, or maybe I'm thinking of another villain that said that in the show. But anyway, super strong wings, flight ability, so it would be hard for Kraven to try and catch him, but he is the ultimate hunter. He does have the serum that he was given that made him Kraven the Hunter. Yeah, and he is a pretty... I mean, when I put him on this list, I was like, Kraven's going to end up going to the top of the list. Like, I have a feeling that he will be in the final four.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Kraven will be in the final four.
He is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, he is. He's always 5 steps ahead of you. He knows how to track you. He knows your scent. Like, he even knows what Spider-Man smells like. So when Peter Parker thinks he's gotten away, Kraven can track him down because he smells Peter Parker. He doesn't care that he's living another life. He's just like, you're Spider-Man, you're my prey, I'm after you. Yeah, alright, man. I mean, I can see it now where he could track the Vulture down, he would set traps, he would use, like a giant catching net that he could set in the streets, and he would...
Yeah, and he just wouldn't let him suck his freaking life out as well. Kraven's going to win, like you said, Kraven's going to win a lot of these rounds.
Yeah, Kraven's going to go to the top. Alright, Kraven...
He's like a villain Punisher with extra bits.
Yeah, he is. Alright, ringing the bell right now. Kraven wins.
Ding, ding, ding. Oh, I didn't know you actually had a sound effect for that. I just said ding, ding, ding.
So, I've got a little new section after our last conversation because we realised Spider-Man has a lot of heroes as allies in this show, and it'd be pretty cool to see them square off, have a little Civil War action, and then finally reach the main villain that wins against the main ally. So little theme tune for that as well, because of course it wouldn't be a show without a theme tune.
Oh God.
The name's Daredevil.
I punish those who prey on the innocent.
Meet the new champion of the Allied Forces, Captain America.
What I smell is trouble.
It's time!
Okay, so we've got 22 on this list. So obviously we'll reach a point where the villains are going to have to play a little catch up. I mean, they have come down significantly in the villains because obviously we've done a few episodes with just villains versus villains. This is called Amazing Friends Fight. So Spider-Man's amazing friends are going to battle it out. So Will, you've got a choice between 1 and 22. What 2 numbers do you want to pick?
1 and 22.
Okay. Well, this is going to be a hands down victory. This is going to be easy.
Is it?
Yeah. Now I just want to say to you also that there are 2 people on here that are on the villains list that also I put on this list because they count as allies as well. They are villains and then they are allies. So, and also, because you won't be able to know what number she is, the Black Cat is one of those people, so she's back in the game.
Ah, hooray!
So, number 1, Blade the Vampire Hunter.
Ah,
Okay,
oh, on everyone's gym playlist. Not really, just mine and yours.
Yep. And it was 10 minutes long, so you didn't even need to put it on repeat.
What a great cardio song.
Oh, what a great movie. So, we've got Blade versus Jubilee from the X-Men.
Ooh. How is that hands down?
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Please do
Jubilee
tell.
is freaking tough, man.
What, with the throwing card thing or whatever? The spark? No, not throwing cards, sorry, that's Gambit. With the
That's
fireworks?
Gambit, dude.
Yeah, I'm thinking about fireworks out of her hands, that's what it is.
It's not fireworks. She's not, like, it's doing a display.
What is it then?
It's something energy.
No, yeah, okay.
I don't know.
Well, come up with a name like Stan Lee said that no one will question and sounds real, and then I'll believe you.
Hang on, let me look at her Wikipedia. It might say exactly what it is.
Alright, you have to tell me in Gilbert Lee's voice what it is.
I don't even know if he created it, though.
No, I don't think he did.
I'm looking at her Wikipedia page, and there doesn't seem to be a section on powers, so I'm struggling a bit to find what actually is going on.
In the meantime, I'm already championing for Blade, and I want to see if you can prove me wrong, because Blade, first of all, he's got all the powers of a vampire, with none of their weaknesses except for the thirst for blood, or plasma, as the show would say. He's got a sword. He's actually got like a laser sword, like almost like a lightsaber in the show. He's got a fucking metal motorcycle that is tricked out beyond belief with like spikes and weapons. He's got like a swinging...
All right, fine. Because it says here that she can generate pyrotechnic energy blasts from her hands.
Pyrotechnic. Do you know what another name for pyrotechnic is? Fucking fireworks.
Just fire.
No,
actually.
pyrotechnics. Fireworks.
Right, whatever, mate. Fun fact about this character, it's not written here, but I do know this. She was created... Do you know why she was created?
No.
She was created as the Marvel's version of Carrie Kelly.
Oh.
That's why she has, like, the glasses that are the same. That's why she, like, wears similar clothes. Like, they just took that character and made it a Marvel character. Also, fun fact, reading it here, she was created by Chris Claremont and Mark Silvestri. That's pretty fucking cool.
Oh, that is cool. Oh, well, there we go.
So one of the founding members of Image created Jubilee.
All right, well, in my opinion, even though there's some cool facts, she still could probably put up a little bit of a fight with her firework fingers, but really...
Stop making fun of Jubilee, man!
We got Blade the Vampire Slayer taking it as a landslide.
Yeah, Blade's gonna win.
All right, ringing the bell for Blade as well. Okay, so after that, we've got our Daily Bugle fact of the day.
Now let's see who's under that mask.
I'm shot and you're gonna be down.
I guess it really does pay to practice shoddy journalism. Keep it up, JJ.
I have waited for this for some time.
Okay, so I have a large number of facts in front of me.
Large.
65, in fact. And you have chosen 2 of them. One of those was number 33. And another one of those I haven't marked down, so I hope you don't choose that same number. I doubt you will, so pick a number between 1 and 65, but you can't choose 33. And there's another one that you can't choose, which I doubt you'll choose again.
Number 1.
Number 1. Okay. Number 1. Now, I think this is a pretty cool fact, because I didn't know this. And you were watching this episode today as well, before you realised it was the wrong episode. Martin Landau was the original voice of Matt Gargan, aka the villain Scorpion. Do you know who Martin Landau is?
The name sounds familiar.
So Martin Landau, he recently died. He actually died last year. He was quite an old man that worked for many years. He was even Dracula at one point. He was in the show Entourage. I don't know if you remember, but he was like an old man in Entourage. You should probably Google him, because the moment you see him, you're going to go, oh my god, this guy was in loads of shit.
One sec. Oh, wanna wrestle?
Yep, Sal Bandini, wanna wrestle?
Him.
Yep, so...
Yeah, from, what's that movie called?
Ready to Rumble.
Oh, crap. Ready to Rumble. I watched that like a month ago. It was awful.
I'm sure it was.
Sal Bandini, wanna wrestle? Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. So Martin Landau was the original voice for Matt Gargan, aka the villain Scorpion. He competed against Frank Gorshin for the role and was awarded the job. Do you know who Frank Gorshin is?
I know the name.
He would be Batman 66's The Riddler.
Oh, fucking hell.
So he went up against...
You thought I would be the Scorpion, but I lost the job to someone else.
Riddle me this! Why didn't I get the job? He went on to be the Scorpion, was awarded the job. However, after he recorded dialogue for 3 episodes, featuring the Scorpion in the show's 2nd season, Landau had won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for Ed Wood, Tim Burton's Ed Wood, in 1994, and was not able to do voiceover acting work anymore due to a contract after winning an Oscar. So he was then replaced by Richard Mole, who provided the voice for the Scorpion in seasons 4 and 5. Martin Landau, I mean, big actor, right? Like, the IMDb list goes on and on. I haven't gone into all the roles he's been in because I'll do that once we get to the Scorpion episode. However, I find it really interesting that he came on board pretty up. This show had quite a few actors that were seasoned, and I listened to the Scorpion. I don't hear Martin Landau. I'm listening to it now with that knowledge, and I'm like, that doesn't sound like Martin Landau.
Nope.
But it was, and obviously he then got an Oscar, and he was just like, I'm too good for this shit. I'm getting paid. See ya.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is our Daily Bugle fact of the day.
Except he hasn't done Ready to Rumble yet, though. So he came in waves.
Yeah, he did indeed. So that's it for this whole episode. I think that next week I've got a few ideas cooking on what we can do. Once again, hoping for a guest, but no guarantee. It's all about scheduling and timing. Obviously, we're in England. A lot of them are in LA. Big 8-hour difference in time. But hopefully we can have that. Otherwise, I will sure bring something.
Are we not continuing my interview?
Not for the next episode. No, we will, but not for the next
I
episode.
get it. I'm not that interesting.
Well, it's just saving it for a little later. That's all.
When I took my first steps as a human being.
If you do it all as Gilbert Lee, then maybe we'll do it.
I don't think I'd have the throat for that.
No, I don't think so either, and I don't think the listeners have ears for that either. So, is there anything you want to add before we jet off?
Just that whatever episodes I watch after this, they got a lot to live up to, because that was a good one. Like, that was just a very well written, well laid out, setting up for many things to come television episode.
For sure. Yeah, I agree with you there. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I'm excited to watch the next one. Obviously, it's Return of the Spider Slayer. Now you've got Alistair Smythe, who wants revenge for his father. You've got the team up with Kingpin, and it's going to be a good one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, me too, bud.
Alright, well that's all time we got for this week. Join us next time where we'll continue talking all things Spider-Man the Animated Series. Until then, I've been Alex Robson.
I've been Will Robson.
And remember, with a great podcast comes great recordability.
Blech.